Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to One Nation Akata News Hour with Foundational Black America's #1 edutainer, Petty Murphy, reporting to you live from the back of the classroom at Foundational Black America's #1 source for edutainment, Akata News Network. Today, we'll be checking in with our agent in the field. That would be the one and only Nap Turner, as he gives a little, shall we say, play-by-play about the Stockholm syndrome that's currently going on with foundational Black Americans. And with that, we'll get out to the field plantation with some breaking news. Yep, what's cracking? How everybody doing today? So yeah, we're going to actually start off, as usual, with a little video collage. After that, we'll spin the block, we'll drop down, and we're going to talk about it.
In my company, I'm a black man. I own a company. I hire a Latino. The Latino comes back and complain about the African Americans because the Latino thinks because I'm African, I don't have any relationship with the African American. The Latino comes to me and tell me that you are an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. That African American cannot work. I have Jose, I have Gonzalez, my brothers who know how to work very well. You need to fire the African Americans and I will bring a lot of hardworking Latinos who work for your company. This is my company as a black man. My company. I was a contractor at Quantico Marine Base in Virginia. A contractor for General Electrics. And the Latino workers that I hired, they are snitching on the African American workers that are hired for me to fire the African Americans so they can bring Latinos to take their place.
Indicates that there was intent. The court found the plan with unerring precision slices through the city's traditional subunit, the ward, in a racially selective manner, leaving intact predominantly white wards while carving up those densely populated by blacks. As of the governor, the court concludes, quote, the governor's opposition to the Nunes plan was predicated in significant part on his delineation of a majority black district centered in Orleans Parish. In a confidential portions of your staff memo, they brought to your attention the allegation that important legislators in defeating the Nunes plan in the basement said, quote, we already have a nigger mayor, we don't need any more nigger big shots. And the court cited evidence of discriminatory intent on the part of other legislators, including the representative who testified at the court hearing that there were legislators, quote, who don't feel they wanted to have a district that would be able to elect clearly
Americans in a very interesting way, which is actually both the universities and the corporate employers are literally, this is true, they literally import Africans so that they don't have to hire African Americans because they still count as black. There was a great story. The thing that woke me up to this, there was a story in the New York Times 20 years ago about Harvard. This is Harvard admits, black students, but which ones? Back when the New York Times could talk about these things honestly. And it quoted actually Henry Louis Gates and Lonnie Guinier at the time at Harvard Law School, basically observing that African Americans were not benefiting from an affirmative action because Harvard had figured out that they could import Nigerians. Right, and again, it's just like, great, the Nigerians are great, they're very smart, they're very productive, it's fantastic, all other things being equal, you'd like to have as many of them in your country, but like, is that really why we're doing, the set-aside programs?
He knows there are two basic steps here. One step is you must take back the streets. And you take back the streets by more cops, more prisons, more physical protection for the people. He also understands what my friend from Texas understands, and he doesn't talk a lot about, but he signed on to in this bill. He also understands there's a need to keep people who are first-time offenders, who are nonviolent offenders, or who are potential first-time offenders who haven't gotten, I yield myself an additional 3 minutes, who in fact are people who are getting themselves into the crime stream for the first time, that they should be diverted from the system. So I hope this crime bill, when it passes, the Biden-Hatch crime bill, as it becomes law, God willing, I hope that we will have ended, once and for all, this notion that is a hangover from the 60s, that somehow Democrats are weak on crime and Democratic presidents are weak on crime and Republicans are tough on crime. The truth is, every major crime bill since 1976 that's come out of this Congress, every minor crime bill has had the name of the Democratic senator from the state of Delaware, Joe Biden, on that bill, and has had a majority vote of the Democratic members of the United States Senate on the bill. So one of the things I want to do in addition to ending crime is end the political carnage that goes on when we talk about crime. Crime is not Democrat or Republican. Making the streets safe is not a Democratic or Republican issue. This is one of those issues I hope this passage of this bill will be taken out of the gridlock category and moved into an emerging consensus. And the consensus is as follows, and I will cease when I finish this statement. The consensus is, A, we must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
Houston Community College is facing a $100 million lawsuit. Hundreds of African-American employees, both past and present, say they faced racial discrimination while working at HCC. Channel 2's Roseanne Aragon is live tonight with a closer look at what this new lawsuit claims. Roseanne?
This lawsuit was intentionally filed today. The plaintiff tells us she represents many. Houston Community College slapped with a $100 million racial discrimination lawsuit filed on none other than the Juneteenth holiday. At the center of the case is Zelia Brown, a former employee who says she and others have been racially targeted by HCC leadership. The suit also reveals an email chain from Chancellor Cesar Maldonado, which states now we Hispanics are going to receive preferential treatment.
This is a pattern. That's something that is methodically and deliberately done to ostracize that individual.
The suit names Maldonado, HR Director Janet May, and Board of Trustees member Adriana Thomas, claiming they worked intentionally on a, quote, well-developed, systematic, entrenched, and wildly successful campaign of race and sex discrimination against top-level black employees, stating that 90% of the longtime black professionals at HCC have either been terminated or demoted, while there has been a 50% increase in Hispanic hires and promotions.
Whether it is demoting them by pay, placing them in a lower level position, creating schemes.
Brown says it happened to her. In 2016, she was hired to advise on grant use and compliance. In 2018, when she found what she believes was a clear pattern of misused funds and spoke up.
Every avenue that I would go down, they would present an obstacle.
But the lawsuit cites other alleged tactics, including padding black employee personnel files with false complaints. For Brown,
they just immediately placed me on administrative leave.
In March, she resigned, and
there have been dozens, as I've said, that have come forward.
HCC says they have not been served yet, so at this hour, they do not have a response. For now, Roseanne Aragon, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Roseanne, thank you.
He knows better. There's not a racist bone in my body.
I think the two-party system, although my Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this, I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro, good for the black in the South. Other than the fact that they still call me boy, I think they've changed their mind.
Particularly for African Americans and Hispanic workers and veterans. You know, the workers without high school diplomas, the lowest unemployment rate in 70 years for women now.
Not go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking. Even call centers, which rushed overseas in the hundreds of thousands. How many times you get the call? I'd like to talk to you about your credit card.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. They're going to put you all back in chains.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Biden is under fire this evening on comments he made about working alongside segregationist senators in the past.
Biden recalling his early Senate career, bringing up two segregationist senators, Herman Talmadge and James Eastland, who called African Americans an inferior race. I was in a caucus with James O. Eastland, Biden said. He never called me boy. He always called me son. At least there was some civility. We got things done. We didn't agree on much of anything. We got things done.
30 seconds or less. What kind of a chance would a northeastern liberal like Joe Biden stand in the South if you were running in Democratic primaries against Southerners like Mark Warner and John Edwards?
Better than anybody else. And you don't know my state. My state was a slave state. My state is a border state. My state is the 8th largest black population in the country. My state is anything from a northeast liberal state.
Choosing Joe to be my vice president was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Not the first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
Great freedom hymn. I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
So let me get this straight. Mexicans in Mexico are out there in the streets protesting against American settlers. And not the illegal ones either. We're talking about legal ones. Folks that went down there the right way, working, chilling, minding their own business. And they out there in Mexico with signs talking about, get out of Mexico. The same people who call deportations evil are doing the same thing in their backyard. Now that's giving kettle, pot, and the whole cookware set. Meanwhile, black Americans are over here doing the cha-cha slide, eating popcorn, and minding our own reparations business. And my DM is blowing up a little bit. Got some people asking me, why aren't black Americans building with us? And I'm like, hold on, man. You asking for our help? But I thought we were so lazy and all of that. And what happened to all that mejora la raza? If it ain't white, it ain't right. All that shit. Now, a lot of y'all been throwing slick shade at us forever. And now that the heat is on you, you're looking for black Americans to step in and save the day, huh? Well, I got news for you. This ain't a black American issue. This is your show, your contradictions, and we got front row seats.
They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. And the president...
A lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to use know how to get in line to determine how to get in line for that.
Black people in Mexico were not even acknowledged until recent years. Their presence was not acknowledged by the government up until very recent years. But yet, they have been there since days of slavery. You understand? So, since the days of slavery, a lot of the slaves in North America, in the United States, a lot of the slaves ran to Mexico to hide. And a lot of them have been living there. And not only that, but a lot of these Spaniards, they brought some slaves to Mexico too. So black people have been in Mexico for hundreds of years. But Mexican government has not acknowledged their presence until very recent years. And that is why I made a video and called it Afro-Mexican, because these people have been there for many years with their own communities, speaking Spanish, of course, but they acknowledge their African ancestry. They acknowledge it. That's why they self-identify as Afro-Mexican, because they're acknowledging their African roots. And the government has not bothered with them. When you watch telenovelas, Spanish telenovelas, have you ever seen a black man? No, never. But yet, black people have been there since the Europeans have been there for hundreds of years.
You want to put me into this Akata categorization? Are you okay? I'm not one of these Akatas. Are you mad? I'm sorry. Are you okay? I'm sorry. Because I smoke. Please don't add me to this discretion. I beg. It's not that deep, like she said. It's not that deep. I beg. You? Anything in the world. You could have called me a dog, a cat.
But I love your tattoo.
I'm joking. People don't come for me. But if you come for me, I'll come for you back. We'll see which story will come faster. Anyways, I hope everybody's doing good, man. I have a really horrible day.
So which kind of stuff are you smoking?
I'm not high yet. I have to smoke 2 of these and I'll be high.
Which stuff are you smoking? Is it weed?
No, I'm smoking flower.
Black folks created that name white supremacy.
That's correct, from Africa, because we are just amazed by the things they've done. Well, we describe them always by inventions, that's all. They can command water from far away through tubes into their bedrooms. We can even fetch a bucket of water from the next lake, you'll be drowned. They can put electricity. We never had one in Africa. They have airplanes fly over us. It's amazing. Everything they've done is the reason my people say these people are superior, not because of slavery. They came to colonize us and they brought things we have never seen before. They gave a king a mirror and he was dancing and sold his people away. They brought guns we have never seen, boom, and killed somebody right away. You know what they used to do in the Congo? Right. They put dynamite in the rocks and then they hide the switch. And then when they press their finger, go boom. And the Congolese till today, they call the white man kiboom, the sound of the dynamite. And then they go down and they go like this. If they're not superior, why do you see every picture when the white men arrive in Africa, we're bowing to them? We have never seen a gun kill a human being. We have never seen a mirror. We have never seen a radio tune in and somebody speaking from England, the Queen's voice. So for us, all these things, these people must be really superior and close to God. They used to have a joke in Ghana that when God said, let's pray, the white man opened his eyes. The black people were covering his eyes. So the white man saw how God created the world. That's why they are so good at what they do. And I'm telling you, these are folklores from which we grew up. If anyone told you that white people came to Africa to tell us they're superior, it's a lie. They never said that.
Then you're going to sit up here and try to manipulate this by finding some knucklehead, weak black people who will sit up here and make like they're coming for us. They're coming for us. They're coming for black people next. They're coming for black people next. When first of all, you know that ain't true. But if you believe it, take a look at this, immigrants. Take a look at black people. If Trump or the troops or the National Guard is coming for black people, notice this, we ain't running. We ain't running to Puerto Rico and Mexico. And I'm talking about let us in. The troops after us. See, I'm looking for the real protest. I'm looking for some billy clubs. I'm looking for some water hoses. I'm looking for some German shepherds being people, sick on people. That's what I'm looking for. That's what American protests look like. What you all doing is a clown show. And then you sit here and you laugh, look the other way, and want somebody to have compassion on what you all are doing. Your protest is boring because it don't have no soul to it. It has no meaning to it. For him to sit here and be laughing, for you to half quote the Constitution and what constitutional rights are, it just goes to show how uneducated you all are in American history. It goes to show that the only thing that you know to do is come to America and feed on the resources. You have no idea what you all are talking about. You want us to feel sorry for people being took away from their kids and all that. We already been there, done that. Who felt sorry for our families being separated? Clearly, y'all don't, because you don't even respect us right now today, but you want our heart to bleed to go pitter patter. But this, for y'all to be on soil that ain't even yours, then you're going to sit up here and try to manipulate this by finding some knucklehead, weak black people who will sit up here and make like they're coming for us. They're coming for us. They're coming for black people next. They're coming for black people next. When first of all, you know that ain't true. But if you believe it, take a look at this, immigrants. Take a look at black people. If Trump or the troops or the National Guard is coming for black people, notice this, we ain't running. We ain't running. We ain't running to Puerto Rico and Mexico. And I'm talking about let us in. The troops after us. The troops. No, we standing right here. And we facing our government. And we doing what we need to do for the United States government right here, right now. Something that y'all can never do. Look at that knucklehead. You telling us that I got to address you, but she can do stuff like that. That's why y'all not getting them seats back. You're not getting them back. All the money that you use for your illegals, you better run back to your home countries with it. Because you're not getting them seats back. You're really not. So go get a real protest and a real cause. Because Michael Rodriguez, you're done. Laugh on that.
Thank you. Claims to be based in the U.S., runs the channel Star News, targets black U.S. celebs and public figures with misinformation. He's actually based in Pakistan. Dinar Minglalamov runs the channel Black Tea, claims to be based in the United States, targets black celebs and public figures with denigrating content. He's based in Russia. Kunjamal Jayan, official Vault Videos, claims to be based in the United States, targets black public figures and celebs with defamatory content. He's based in India. Imran Igra runs the channel Celeb News, claims to be based in the United States, targets black celebrities with misinformation and also black public figures. He is actually based in Pakistan. Mohammed Shabazz Haider runs the channel Celebrity Star Talks, claims to be based in the United States, a gossip channel with negative content about U.S. black celebrities. Mohammed is based in Pakistan. Sunny Duvall claims to be based in the United States, runs the channel Mukam Music, targets black celebrities with negative commentary, actually based in Pakistan. Muhammad Islam runs the channel We Got Celeb, claims to be based in the United States, targets black public figures and celebs with negative and denigrating content. Muhammad is actually based in Pakistan.
This is why I'm glad X, formerly known as Twitter, will start displaying whatever countries the user are from on their profile. TikTok should do the same. Side note, other media platforms like the Shade Room and World Star Hip Hop that were created by immigrants have profited from highlighting negative aspects of Black American culture, which has created division and reinforced stereotypes, all while elevating their own communities.
I became an actress. I quickly realized that the world liked their Latinas to look Italian, not like me. And so I wasn't going up for Latina parts. I was going up for African American parts.
I would get really positive reactions at auditions for both African American and Latino parts. But I didn't look Latino enough because of the curly hair and the freckles and the nose and all that stuff. It bothered me. Of course it bothered me, because what I look like and what I am, it doesn't change that I'm a Latina. And you're telling me that I'm too dark?
My agent was saying, okay, we're having trouble. They look at her picture and we send her out for Latina roles, but they're looking more for fair skin or Mexican. I ended up booking more African American roles. I still to this day have trouble booking a lot of Latina roles. Just because. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
To see Nigerians imitating African Americans, some of the funniest. My father would be like, he'd be like, you know, he's like, so, you know, this one boy was in my class. He would just say, hey, man, don't talk to me like that. He was just walking like, man, it's in tears. You want to be Mr. Cool. Yeah, he has this, the comb, you don't put he put the comb in his hair. He would just stay just like this, saying bad words, motherfucker, this, doing this with his hair. Yo, yeah, it's funny as hell, man. Yeah. And it's like,
yo, Minnesota was promised to us Somalis 3,000 years ago. And if you disagree, you're an anti-Kushite bigot and you need help immediately. Also, if you read Genesis 12:3, it says that those who bless Somalis will be blessed, and those who try to harm them will bring harm upon themselves. I didn't say that. Genesis 12:3. Just saying.
The state of Minnesota is the home of the Somali people, in which it fulfills its natural, cultural, religious, and historical right to self-determination.
A lot of white nationalists are really upset about Somali immigration to Minnesota for some reason. But the thing is, Minnesota is the homeland of the Somali people, and it was promised to us 3,000 years ago. In fact, one of the founding documents of the state of Minnesota is literally codifying into law that Somali people have self-determination on that land. As it states very plainly in the basic law in Minnesota, the land of Minnesota is the historical homeland of the Somali people, in which the state of Minnesota was established. The state of Minnesota is the home of the Somali people, in which it fulfills its natural, cultural, religious, and historical right to self-determination. The right to exercise self-determination in the state of Minnesota is unique to the Somali people. The state views the development of Somali settlement as a national value and will act to encourage and promote its establishment and consolidation. So that's the end of the debate. The only people who have the right to self-determination in Minnesota are Somalis. Somalis have a cultural tie to the land. It was promised to us 3,000 years ago, and we have the right to go back to our homeland. If anybody wants to help me pay for Aliyah to my homeland, please help me out.
The name Minnesota actually stems from two Somali words. One being Minan, which comes from the southern dialect of Somalia, which means home. And the second is Sota, which is like Sota, there she is. Home, there she is, Minnesota. So technically, we actually are the native.
A $250 million fraud scheme. Already 77 people, many of them Somali immigrants, have been charged in one of the largest taxpayer-funded scams in U.S. history. Minnesota, home to the largest Somali community in America, has become the center of this massive investigation. This is the Feeding Our Future scandal, a pandemic-era scheme in which defendants allegedly stole over $250 million meant to provide meals for low-income children. Instead of feeding kids, prosecutors say the money went toward luxury homes, high-end cars, jewelry, overseas transfers, and an entire network of shell companies. According to the DOJ, the conspirators submitted fake invoices, fabricated meal counts, and even staged photos to make it look like they were serving millions of meals that never existed. In some cases, they claimed to feed more children than lived in entire neighborhoods. A federal jury found Amy Bach, the founder of Feeding Our Future, and Salim Ahmed Saeed guilty of conspiracy, bribery, wire fraud, money laundering. Federal officials say more arrests may still be coming.
Y'all, these Somalians in Minnesota is out of pocket. Just because a manager, American manager, let ICE in, he threatened to unalive the manager. Check this out.
We live here. Why should let them in? Okay, that's going to be the biggest demonstration ever against Chairman Associates. I will tell you. I will tell you. Chairman Associates are doing this to us after 30 years of living here.
These are just families, man.
Chairman Associates, I live here 27 years, and they're letting this ICE in to harass us. As American, we are Americans. Look at this. We are Muslim. Is that the problem? Yeah? After 30 years of taking our money, we are Muslim? Oh, good.
It's really ridiculous. You throw out all these victim cards. Oh, I'm Somalian. Oh, I'm a Muslim. Just to turn around and try to intimidate somebody talking about you're going to unalive them. Trust and believe. After ICE would have did their thing in that building, the Bacon Boys would have been up next. Yeah, the Bacon Boys would have came through that building and you would have got up out of there. You wouldn't have to go to Somalia, but you would have had to get the hell up out of my apartment complex. Because what you mean, you a tenant and I'm the manager. Yeah, what you mean? You a tenant talking to the manager like that. Excuse me, sir, this is where we part ways. This is where the eviction notice come out. And you know, it's cold out there. It's cold out there in the streets right now. I don't think y'all could survive the cold from the climate y'all come from. Like, the entitlement is unbelievable. The entitlement is unbelievable. And you can't pressure people into believing the same thing you believe in. No one's obligated to put their career on the line. No one's obligated to jeopardize their bag for something you believe in. right? And if you're American, what's your problem with ICE anyway? Because you could call ICE on me right now. Guess where they're going to put me at? Back in America. We're going to do a 360 degree together. But what you hiding?
Michael Blake.
Like, I am. Okay, I'm going to frame my answer based upon our different experiences. As soon as you said that you were a Jamaican American, it immediately let me know your relationship to this country. And so because your relationship to this country is that you were an immigrant and your family wasn't imported through the slave trade, I understand that you're not a descendant.
It's not true. It's not true. Let's just stop there. Don't say anything about my family. I was born in the Bronx. You're about to say some nonsense right now. Yes, but again, let's not even get the process of
as a Jamaican American born in the Bronx, let's keep it here.
He's born in the Bronx. She's making a point. He is a Jamaican American. I didn't state that. I'm not a Jamaican nothing. I am a free man. I'm a descendant of chattel slavery. Me, Whitley Janae Gates, my family. There is no Jamaica. There is no Caribbean for me to go back to. So his proclivity and how he sees this country is going to be completely different than someone who is a descendant of chattel slavery. Completely different. So of course he wants more immigrants here. Of course, immigration, specifically illegal immigration to him, as he stated, is a sign of growth. Of course, he believes that we should be utilizing our tax dollars and our resources to support people who've come over here, who've broken the law to be in this country because it benefits his family. It benefits the story.
Yo. You can have a policy conversation. I'm gonna say this again. It's the third time your comments have referenced my family. I just want to be real clear. You can have any policy. You can have any policy comment. I'm just saying.
I'm talking about his Jamaican American lineage.
So let's respectfully leave family out of it.
We're only going to talk about his lineage, which is Jamaican American, which is what he has.
But you literally phrased about crime and illegal, and that I supported illegal immigration because we're family. Like, just again, if you want to talk about policies, you can do policy.
Let's just keep it policy then. Let's keep it policy.
I haven't even gotten to crime yet. I'm talking about illegal immigration and utilizing our tax dollars and our resources to fund and support illegal immigrants. I'm not talking about people who came here with papers. I'm talking about illegal immigrants, 11 million that have crossed, 11 million and counting, that have crossed the border since Biden and Harris, and since Harris has been the border czar, has taken over. I'm talking about the resources of tax dollars that have gone from American citizens to support their housing, to support getting them food. I do not believe that we as Americans, specifically Black Americans that are descendants of slavery, should have our tax dollars utilized for illegal immigrants that have come to this country without going through the proper immigration process that we have currently in order, and get our money and get funded and get $9,000+ in Chicago for rent, and be able to get more money in food stamps and SNAP and TANF and all of these benefits, and be able to utilize our tax dollars to get free legal service. That's happening right in Indianapolis, in my own city. Absolutely not. I think it is the first step to making America not a sovereign nation is to bust open our borders like a bag of chips. I think that is completely wrong. 2, I think it's also completely wrong for us to basically, and this is what it feels like.
Third world countries have figured it out. Somalia, when they go to Norway, 73% of them are on government housing, government food, government aid. In Sweden, it's 64% of the Somalis. They don't have jobs or educations. 69% of Denmark are on public benefits of some sort. Here in America, 88%, almost 9 out of 10 of them are on some kind of welfare program, taking aid, housing. Why? Why is it allowed? I guess we're going to find out. And it's important to notate that Walz saw his district go up like 300 or 400% when it comes to Social Security and disability. They're applying for Social Security and disability. It's up over 300% in Tim Walz, Tampon Timmy, and his district. We're being raped.
For going in saying, my kid applied to the local McDonald's, they wouldn't hire him because he didn't speak Spanish. It is mostly Black communities that are being overwhelmed with illegal immigrants.
In a free market, of course, there will be competition for certain jobs, right? And so the most skilled worker is likely to get that position. Being bilingual is a skill. You're able to communicate. And I get it. If you're not bilingual, it makes you uncomfortable. You're not as competitive. But guess what? You know, we live in a country where you have all the resources at your fingertips. You can learn a language for free online. And so, enough with this victimhood.
I just finished watching a clip of Tyreek Nichols' podcast talking about how there is no black and brown coalition and talking about the racism amongst white Hispanics specifically, and talking about how in LA right now it's a bunch of lawsuits running rampant about these Latino supervisors discriminating against their black American employees. And I just want to say that not only is that not an LA thing, that's not even a California thing. That is an all over thing that are done by immigrants alike, but specifically with Hispanics. A couple of months ago, I was having a conversation with my ex, who is an HVAC technician, and we was talking about this, and I was just like, man, everywhere you go, it's a bunch of Hispanics, and then you go inside these stores, and they don't speak no English. How the fuck they even hire them? So he was telling me the week before he was doing a job for Chase Bank, he walks in, all the Hispanics there, nobody speaks any English. There's one black lady, they're an older black lady. He says as he goes up, he's talking to her, showing her the work order and everything like that. He says before he goes outside to get his ladder, he asks her, like, how did you even get this job? Like, how do you work here like this? And she said that she had been there over 20 years, got passed up for a promotion from a Latino man. A Latino man became the manager, and he slowly but surely fired, because she said there was white Americans and black Americans working there. Slowly fired them one by one. And now it's nothing but Hispanics, specifically white Hispanics. And this is also why I say the entire culture thing of POC and shit like that doesn't exist. Because a lot of them hide behind their white cosplay. A lot of these cop videos that you see, these are white passing Hispanics. You feel what I'm saying? And when I say that, people say I'm being hateful, but you can literally Google this cop. That's what I did. You feel what I'm saying?
I actually heard you guys pull up to Owatonna, the Big O, and you pulled up when I was not there? Yo, so puss ass shit, boy. You gonna get popped next time I see you ass. Bring the whole cavalry. Yeah, boy, you guys are scared. Scared of the stingray, baby.
All right, so now that we've had a chance to go through that collage of whatever you want to call it, right? Let's have a little dialogue about it, because this is something that I personally feel like it needs to be said and it needs to be addressed. Currently in our community, and this is solely for foundational Black Americans, aka ADOS, American descendants of slavery, aka soulaan, right? Those of us who our ancestors were here 1776 and before. Those of us that we are protected under the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. Those of us that come from no immigrant lineage, and there's nowhere to send us back to. You know, when Africans talk that shit, or whoever, whatever group at that time is popping off, and they go, oh, no, if the white man says we have to go home, where are you gonna go, nigga? I can go back to, and insert continent, nation, and country there. Yeah, I'm talking about those. I'm talking about us, right? Okay. Now, this may be hard to digest, but it needs to be said. There is definitely a segment of our population that is downright suffering from Stockholm syndrome of the worst way. And I don't know if it's actually self-hate or it literally is just outright Stockholm syndrome, or a combination of the two. But if there's one thing I can say for certain, is that some of these individuals are my peers. And these are the same people that when we have conversations and I can show them things like this, and we can actually feed off of one another's own life experiences. Because there's some of my peers that just in the last 3 years of me going through what I was going through, because I was documenting my day, I have my own life experiences, just as these type of things on tape. What? Getting violated by immigrants at work because they think Black Americans have no culture. And you know how it is when you're at work and you just can't let certain shit go, can't move certain ways. So you just kind of grin and bear it, right? So we've all experienced it. We all talk about it. But for some reason, when in a mixed company, or like right now, but this is literally the first time that I can remember since I've been on this rock that we've actually even openly had this conversation. This is something that we always talk about amongst ourselves, or for the individuals that belong to these other groups, to the diaspora, that we had relationships with and were comfortable talking and saying the hard parts out loud. But we've always had these conversations, you know what I'm saying, underneath all the bullshit. But this is the first time where it's out in the open and everybody else is getting to see what's really going on. But my question is this: if we know all these things to be true, right? And since, again, I keep saying this, since 1965, because for those that don't know, when the United States of America became a corporation in 1914, that was the first run of actual European immigration. And from 1914 to 1964, over a 50-year period, they immigrated and imported 12 million European immigrants from all over Europe, right? That next year, 1965, was the Civil Rights portion of the Immigration Act, in which Black Americans fought for. And that allowed immigrants from what we call third world nations or minority groups to immigrate to the Americas. And ever since then, this is what we have been dealing with. But now we're in this kind of conundrum where it's not just the first generation immigrants, where they're the children of the people that immigrate over here. We have people like Ilhan Omar and others who are naturalized citizens, which means they immigrated here. And now they're in political positions, and they have positions of power where they're now responsible for creating and drafting legislation that dictates where our tax dollars are used as far as funds, and what programs can be cut from or borrowed from so that they can fund what they want to fund. And if Minnesota and the Twin Cities is any indication, I can only imagine what's happening in Dearborn, New York City, Detroit, and everywhere else. Because you best to believe, with Mondani just being elected, he already told you outright that this was a nation built by immigrants. Even though that is an outright lie. And the most diabolical thing is that there are Black Americans that co-sign this bullshit and actually allow these people to play in our faces and disrespect us as if we don't exist and we have never been here and we had no actual I'm literally at a fucking loss for words. And pardon my language. I'm sorry. I've been trying to really keep it clean, but when I speak about this, it really starts to get under my skin, because when I speak to my peers and I'm providing them with actual receipts and facts, I'm always told, oh, I don't even want to look at that, or it makes me feel bad, or I don't care what they say because I don't like him anyways, and I would rather suffer than go along. So what you're telling me is, just because you don't like the individual that's in charge of the White House right now, you would rather all of the foreign aid that's being siphoned out of your community, all of the money that we, especially as New York City residents, just spent over the last 4 years, the $7 trillion that, according to Eric Adams and Governor Hochul, when they did the actual New York State budget, said that New York City residents were solely responsible for that $7 trillion. I think we really need to re-examine where we're at as a people, because, there was a Black scholar, and I cannot think of his name right now, but he said that if we were dealing with the things we were dealing with when we were the number 2 demographic in this country, where are we going to be at number 4, number 5? And with us actually being home, as Martin Luther King told you, that the Negro remains in exile in his own land, we're not even the number 1 or 2 quote unquote misnomered minority group in our own land. And now we have congressmen and senators who are immigrants or the children of immigrants drafting up legislation to further rob the American people and redistribute that wealth to their communities within America, and then to give financial aid and foreign aid to their homelands. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not a thought or a maybe. It has been happening and it continues to happen. And we need to actually accept that we supported these politicians. We supported the Ilan Omars. We supported the Byron Donaldsons, right? We supported the AOCs. As she's told you that, no, Black Americans do not deserve reparations, even though it's etched into the Emancipation Proclamation. But she said that illegal immigrants who crossed the border through no point of entry were deserving of reparations and should get them. This is what AOC is saying should happen with your tax dollars when in your home, you're not getting shit, but everything that you work for is being sent out to foreign lands, foreign nations, and given to foreign nationals who crossed an imaginary line in the sand in your home, but continue to tell you that you are not shit. I'm going to say this again and again and again. Imagine if we, the 13%, picked up and went to all their homelands and did the same thing. Do you think that the same red carpet would be rolled out for your black ass? I'm speaking solely to foundational Black Americans. Do you think if you went to Nigeria that they would put you up in luxury hotels, give you food stamps, free medical care, while you walked around and said, oh, wow, look at all the shit in the street. Why are people defecating on the sidewalks? Why are there goats in the stores? Do you think they would allow that shit? Or are you to tell them that y'all are wild, you have no fucking culture? In fact, you just became a country in the 1960s, so there's no way that you could have any actual culture or even fucking know yourselves. Now, you'd probably be somewhere, you catch my drift, right? But for some reason, they're allowed to come here, walk around comfortably, and can confidently tell you in your face in your homeland as a guest that, nigga, you ain't shit. And we allow it. So when they say that Black Americans are stupid or we have no culture, they feel that they can rightfully do so because we don't even actually try to gatekeep or protect our culture as they walk like us, talk like us, dress like us, make music like us, and do everything that we do, and then tell us we don't have any culture. We can go to Africa right now and see cats on the side of a corner, popping and locking or having a cipher. Yo, 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 what's up, my nigga? And all this other shit walking through a fucking cow patty. But you don't see us. You don't see us with arrows, tapping the jugular vein and drinking bloods out of the side of a cow's neck or letting cows urinate to wash our hair. Because these are not things that we do culturally. But these are things that are acceptable. And again, we allow them to come in our house as guests and violate us as we pay for their stay. Because when you look at the actual statistics and the numbers, they are robbing and rocking social services to sleep. They're even collecting disability and social security now. You tell me how you just got into the country, some of them 10, 20 years ago. You've been on social services your whole stay here, and now you've never even actually paid into the system. But then they open up nonprofits and they just siphon. And then there's again, crack in the foundation because there are some soulaan that go, oh, well, these are our brothers and sisters. And it doesn't matter if they disrespect us. We should just turn the other cheek like a bunch of fucking cowards. And that's exactly what they're looking at, because when they violate you and then you go, oh, it's okay, my friend. Here, take more money. Here, take over our communities. Here, violate our people and our families and our women and everything else. Set people on fire on the subway trains. We don't give a fuck, and do whatever you want to do. You know what they say? This is a nation of fucking pussies, and we're going to do whatever we want with them. And we're allowing it. So until we decide as a collective that we're not having this shit anymore, some of us need to stop complaining, because while you sit back and complain about the big boogeyman and the big bad white man, how many Klansmen have you seen have the schools in your community shut down to move in illegal immigrants? How many Klansmen are in your communities right now calling you niggas and akatas and moyos and mayetes in your face every day as you fight and march for their sovereignty in your house? I'll wait. And again, if I've upset anybody, by all means, let me know in the comments, because we need to talk about it. But on that note, I'm gonna get out of here. And just keep in mind, y'all, this shit is a dirty game that they're playing. And as long as we continue to participate and of our own free will, willingly allow these things to happen, you can't complain, because I'm gonna run it and beat it like a dead horse. Brother Malcolm told you, there are white people that do want to help, but they'll never call themselves liberal. Martin Luther King said, yo, I think I done ran my people into a burning building, because traditionally, historically, blacks were always Republicans. And if you don't know, or have never heard of the Know Nothings, maybe you should Google the Know Nothing militia that was created by the Democratic Party and find out who and what they became. And then understand exactly what you're playing with, and you'll know why Lyndon Baines Johnson said, I'll have these Negroes voting Democrat for the next 200 years, and they won't know why. Okay? George Washington will remove the sandals from their feet and the feathers from their head in 2 generations. They won't even know who their fathers are. And now they're important. They're employees that, under color of law, no matter what this looks like, on paper they're white, which is a fact. But they get to take advantage of all of the minority legislation because they have a similar phenotype and neuromelanin in their skin. So as they play in all Americans' faces and laugh at us like we're stupid, because black Americans and white Americans are going back and forth over, not that there aren't some old wounds there, but a lot of shit right now that's being stoked and propped and prodded on, it's all a psyop to stop us from paying attention to what's really going on. And that's the fucking illegals and the fraud of the immigrants that have infiltrated, Trojan horse style, our federal government. It's time to wake up. It's time to get active and pay attention. It is time to actually roll up our fucking sleeves and get it up out the mud like our ancestors did. They made a few mistakes along the way, but it's up to us to correct it. Because sometimes the enemy of my enemy is actually my friend. And when the same people who have no actual lineage or blood ties to this land are openly saying the same thing about all Americans, I think we know what the problem is, and I think we know what really needs to be done. Sometimes you gotta let go, get over yourself, and don't let that ego or that pride fuck up everything that you've worked and your ancestors have worked for. Because see, what we fail to actually want to realize or actually talk about, we have just as much of an investment and a stake in this country as anyone else that has been here, or their family lines have been here for at least 200-300 years, because our ancestors built this country. Some as freedmen and some as chattel slaves, but we, white knuckles, we built this fucking country. And now immigrants are here saying that they built it like we don't fucking exist, as they violate us in our neighborhoods, in our communities, because the liberals that import them don't want them in their neighborhoods. So they stick them in yours, and the crime and everything that comes with it, we have to deal with. And you know what? No one said this. I'm going to say it. Every time we talk about the election, everybody goes, oh, well, look at the statistics. These fucking Latinos and these dumbass Africans voted against their own best interests for voting for Trump. You know why they voted for Trump? because they knew what the fuck they were running from. And they knew exactly what they didn't want here. They knew they came here to escape a certain element, and they knew he was trying to get rid of them. So they said, you know what? I would rather take a chance getting deported to know that he's removing the element that we ran the fuck away from, because these fucking Americans are too fucking stupid to see why we're actually voting that way. Now, I know when they talk this shit and we say they should be over, oh, you know what? It's actually your fucking fault. But really think about it. Really think about it. You think they was doing all that just to be anti-black? Because there are literally Venezuelans in this country right now who are actually hoping that Maduro gets taken down so that they can have freedom in their homeland. But on that note, we're going to get up out of here. And remember, realize, and transparency forces accountability. Y'all keep your eyes to the stars and keep that head on a swivel. And just know that if you don't wake up soon enough, your ass gonna get rocked permanently to sleep because you think that they your brothers and sisters when they tell you that you are just an akata, a moyo o a mayete, mi hora la raza. Tighten the fuck up. Tighten the fuck up before we lose everything, Soulaan. Don't make the majority of us suffer because some of you are too fucking cowards to stand up on your square and be fucking men. Welcome back to the studio, ladies and gentlemen. And after that pretty long expose, I'm going to keep it as brief as possible. But as you did hear from our field correspondent, Nab Turner, that there seems to be a bit of a Stockholm syndrome going on through the community of foundational Black Americans, aka ADOS, aka Soulaan. If you should happen to be one of those individuals, just keep in mind that everyone's watching, and when the flip switches, there just might be hell to pay. So if you happen to be one of these people that make excuses for letting them play in your face, disrespect you and tell you have no culture, but you like to bend over backwards to make them feel comfortable, even though that they're just siphoning all the resources out of your community, I'll just leave that there. And on that note, we're signing out. Live from the back of the classroom, it is again the one and only Petty Murphy here at Akata News Network.